Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So today's video we are looking at issue 228 of Simply Cards and Papercraft. So the free gift we get this month, this is called A Sense of Spring. So this is based around perfume and kind of those big birthday occasions. So in the stamp set itself, we do have, so we've got 29 stamps here. We have an embossing folder, so like a thin strip embossing folder. So in here you've got number stamps, so again for those sort of big birthday occasions, those milestone birthdays. These will fit into the bottle or the label of this bottle here, but you do also have two labels on here, so they'll fit in there. Then you've got sentiments that's going to fit in there as well. We have of course like florals and things for you to be able to kind of decorate like the tops of the bottles, and yeah, just sort of other flourishes and things like that. And then we also get this extra stamp set here. This is from the Colorado Craft Company. I'm not sure this one really has a name, but it's a really beautiful perfume bottle here. So you've got the actual bottle itself and then all of that floral kind of top. We've got a happy birthday sentiment, two extra little florals, and then so again you have got that square in the middle, so you can use that as your label, and again then you can fit your numbers in there. So you've got this little so you can have your 50, or you can have like number 50 like you would get again on the perfume bottles, and again then I'd imagine that these smaller sentiments will fit into here as well. But yeah, like I said then as well, you do have the embossing folder. There are also some papers that you can download as well to go and match perfectly with this stamp set. So let's take a look in the magazine at some of the inspiration. So we have some cards here by Nikki. So again, different size cards. So she's got used in the embossing folder. So she's used it once with the strip. She's used it twice to create, you know, panels sort of either side. You have got then that lovely Colorado Craft Company stamp there as that main focal point. Again, with that embossing folder, she's done probably a bit of watercoloring here. With the downloadable papers as well, there are papers, just down here, there's papers and sentiments and toppers. So you've got like this here, that is one of the toppers. I think this, yeah, the sentiment here, that's one of the toppers as well. And again then these ones are those Colorado Craft Company. I really love this one as well, the way she's coloured it in, do a little bit of watercolouring, but then also used the top of the bottle that you've got just here to make it look like you know, that is the tops come off and you've got all of those beautiful flowers in there. So some really, really great cards. So I actually did a commission using this stamp set. So we've got here using it for different keepsakes. You've got earrings, you've got a gift card holder, we have got an exploding box, a key ring, we've got a vanity case gift box. So again, these are all going to be really perfect for Mother's Day cards. Obviously that's sort of the next occasion we've got coming up here in the UK. So yeah, these are going to be absolutely brilliant makes. You've got a handbag gift bag there, and you do have a template that you can download from the Craft World website. So these are the cards that I created using this set. So I have used the downloadable papers and the toppers as well. So you can see you've got the papers. Some of them are really, really beautiful, more kind of like watercolory or kind of more artistic. And then you've got, you know, more kind of a basic print, I guess. We've got some black and whites, really, really lovely papers. And you do have some florals in there as well. So again, you know, using that bottle, and I've put your 40 in there. So again, you know, you can fit that into that label. We've got the topper sentiments. We've got like last minute makes, special makes, extra special makes, things like that. So again, down here, I've included some like lace pieces and some vellum shapes and things just to kind of add some extra layers and that to my cards. And then over here we've got again a last minute make. So I had a lot of the patterned papers left over, sort of different bits and pieces. So I just cut loads of circles from them and created a background with that. A really great way of using up some of your scrap cards you've got. Sorry, some of your scrap papers. So we have then a circle card as well. So again, I used that embossing folder and I coloured it in using my alcohol markers, which I really love how that turned out. And then like, so for this one, I used 3 of those toppers together, you know, the different perfume bottles. So you can really mix and match these nicely. And then for like an extra special make, so we've got this here. So I created a perfume shaped card. If you're interested, I can recreate this card here on my channel so you guys can see. And then I turned this middle section into into a shaker element as well. So that bit is the label, we've got the florals, and then we've got lots of sequins and things inside, and you have got a how-to there on how to create a shaker element. So I really enjoyed using this set. Hopefully in today's video I'm going to create something kind of completely different, because obviously I've had a really great play with these, and you can sort of see those cards in the magazine. So again, I'm going to show you sort of something completely different, and I think I'm going to focus mainly on using that embossing folder. So let's take a look at what comes included in next month's issue. So this is called Peach Perfection. So we've got some really lovely fruit. I'm hoping this is going to be quite a big size, because I do like the idea of that. So we've got the whole pear and the whole peach, and then we have the half fruit as well. We've got the blossom and a couple of sentiments. We also have 55 bonus digital papers and toppers, and then it looks like we get the outline or the coordinating dies to go with those whole fruit as well, which would be perfect. One thing that I wish these magazines did a little bit more often was having coordinating dies to go with even just a few elements of their stamps. So I'm really looking forward to that. Again, hopefully that's going to be a decent size as well, and I think that is going to be brilliant. So the last thing I just wanted to show you in the magazine, they've done a little feature on my craft room. So I have changed my craft room around again from when I first moved into the room, and I am planning to do a craft room tour video at some point when it's nice and tidy. But so yeah, they did just a little feature. So you've got a couple pictures there of my room. The main thing, if you've been following me for a little while and you've seen my previous craft room tours, the main thing that's changed is my desk. I did upgrade my desk with some Kallax units, and then the desktops from IKEA, and I've got a much bigger space now to work on. But yeah, and then just some sort of questions and some quick fire questions. So that's a look at that magazine, and of course then our free gift. So let's get into creating our card today. So as I said, I'm going to be primarily using this embossing folder. So I wanted to show you that you can use just a small strip embossing folder like this and still create a full background. So that's what I'm going to do for my card today. So I'm cutting down a piece of watercolor cardstock. So this is by Sentimentally Yours. It's a smooth cardstock, and I think it's really great. I haven't had any problems using this so far. So this is definitely going to be my go-to watercolor cardstock. So what I wanted to do was create a sort of panelled background. That's a really great way of using these kind of strip embossing folders. So the embossing folder itself is roughly about 2 inches. I'm marking up the 2-inch mark, and then I'm doing a 1/4 inch gap in between. So you can see I'm just marking that up, just a small pencil line. We can rub this out afterwards. And this is just going to make sure that the gaps between our embossed strip is going to be exactly the same. It's just going to give it a better finished look. So what I'm going to do is bring my embossing folder onto my cardstock. I'm going to just line it up really roughly with the pencil mark that I've made, and I'm going to run that through my die cutter machine. So what I'm going to do just to alternate the pattern is, so this time I've attached the embossing folder, so the actual fold of the folder is on the right hand side, you can see there. The next one I'm going to put it in from the left hand side. So you can see I'm just turning it over and lining it up again. It's just going to give a little bit of variety to this background. The embossing folder itself is really beautiful. It's got some leaf and floral details on this. Again, lots of examples in the magazine of how you can use these. But sometimes, you know, if you want to create a bigger card, so I'm creating a 5x7 finished card. This panel ends up being not much over 4 inches by 6 inches roughly. But it just goes to show that, you know, you can create fuller backgrounds, like I said, using these smaller embossing folders. So you can almost just about see the gaps in between the designs there. I'm going to be popping some strips of grey card in between those just to kind of break it up a little bit once we have completed our background. But now, so I've done that 4 times. Again, I'm going to be cutting this down quite a bit, but you've got 4 different kind of sections in here. And from here, you can really take it wherever you want to go. You can colour them in with your alcohol markers. You can leave it just white like this. If you are going to leave it in that, I would, again, make sure you are measuring the gaps in between to make it nice and even. I'm going to do a little bit of watercolouring, just using some distress ink and one of my new brushes. So I showed you this in my haul video. So I wanted to, you know, have a go at using some of these sort of wider brushes. So I've got this one, I've got some picked raspberry. I am going to bring in some seedless preserve as well, just to help darken that colour up a little bit. And I'm going to create a sort of ombre effect for this background. So I'm just covering this quite heavily with some water, so just some clean water here. And this is going to help. Then I'm going to apply the colour at the top, and then I'm going to kind of have it sort of dripping down. I'm going to be building this up, so it's going to look like quite a light wash at the moment, but it's really going to pick up all that detail of that embossing folder. You can see now much better the designs we've got in here. So you can see I'm adding more water just to help that colour drip down. Like I said, I wanted to have it much darker at the top here, but this is going to be the bottom of the background, and then it's going to go really into very pale, almost white there. So again, I'm just sort of cleaning my brush in between, bringing in some more clean water, and I'm letting that kind of drip down. It's going to drip around and sink into different portions of that embossed design, so it's really going to help kind of show up that design a little bit, because you're going to have the darker sections of the colour going into those kind of creases and that of the embossed detail. So I'm just cleaning up my mat because obviously it's quite watery, and again this is then where I'm going to bring in that seedless preserve just to really deepen this. So my colour scheme for this card is following the colour throwdown challenge. I think it's this week's, which was grey, pink and green. So the colour throwdown challenge is a hashtag that you can follow over on Instagram. It gives you a new colour scheme each week, and I think it can help you to kind of get out of your box a little bit, try a different colour combination. I wouldn't necessarily have put these together, especially kind of with that grey in there as well. But again, it just gets you sort of thinking a little bit more how you can use those colours together. And then you can post pictures using that hashtag over on Instagram. So my background is going to be pink. And then I'm going to have a matte and layer, which is going to be green, and then I'm going to be adding some strips onto my card. So in the gaps between the embossed detail, we're going to add some grey strips. So I've kind of finished my colour. I wanted to sort of dry this off and really see what it looked like. So I'm just using my heat tool here, and I do actually go in and kind of do this again just to try and deepen that bottom colour, and just add a little bit more sort of layers to it. So here is my final piece. So you can see there we've just deepened that slightly, but you've got that really lovely gradient right up to that kind of basic white colour. So as I said, I'm going to add some grey card into this. I wanted to kind of divide up these panels a little bit more just to help with that gap. So if you didn't want to do this, you could put your bottom in folders closer together so that the design was much closer together. But I've taken some strips of the grey card and I'm going to sort of fill in those gaps. So originally I was planning to just use my paper trimmer to cut my strips, but I ended up using these strip dies from Pink Fresh Studio. It cuts 4 at a time, and these are 1/4 of an inch thick because that was of course what I measured. But once we do go ahead and put these on this design, you can see that we have a little extra space between that embossing folder. Again, it's from the edge of the embossing folder to the actual design on it. So I'm just going to use my Nouveau glue here, and I'm just going to add these strips in this middle section. Again, the other way you could do this is literally just emboss a piece of card. You could do coloured card if you wanted to do a gradient. You could trim this down and you could just put those panels on top of a bigger piece of grey cardstock if you didn't want to use these little strips. But it's a really great way actually of using up any sort of spare cardstock you've got, any scraps that you've got as well. So again, I'm just adding 3 of these onto here. My cardstock was obviously warped from all the paper and then the embossing as well. So yeah, trying to get that straight on there is sort of key again, because you've got a little bit more kind of detail. So I do need to trim this down as well. This panel is going to get trimmed down quite a lot. The card I'm making is a 5x7. I wanted to add a matte layer again in that green colour. This is the pistachio green from Craft Perfect by Tonic Studios. I was trying to find something a little bit more interesting rather than doing just a straightforward matte and layer. So I tried my scalloped and straight edge nesting dies by Hunky Dory. And the largest size of that doesn't really fit. So the next one down that I kind of had that did fit was this torn edge nesting dies. Again, this is by Hunky Dory. I really need to get some more nesting dies. I have been looking at the Creative Craft Products ones, which is the home brand of Craft Stash. And I do like this. The only thing I'm concerned about is that whether the sizes actually match the card sizes that I make. That's the one thing that really bothers me. I've got a few different nesting dies, but you know, the largest sizes and that really don't fit the card sizes that I make. So I would really love to have my own range of nesting dies, and then actually design them to work with a 5x7 card, to work with, you know, your 6x6s, your 6x4s maybe. That is something that I would really love to do. But if anyone's got any recommendations of nesting dies and different shaped scallops and stitch details and things like that that would actually fit a 5x7 card, then please let me know, because I'd really love to have a look into that. So I'm just cutting down my panel, so you can see I die cut my torn edge from that green cardstock, and I'm just trimming down my panel. So you can see I'm taking quite a bit of this off. Something like this would be quite good in like a slimline size card, because you're not taking as much of that design off. Obviously the majority of where it's kind of interesting is where you've got the darkest at the bottom and the lightest at the top. So I think I would do something like this again, yeah, and turn it into a slimline, so you get more of that gradient. But I just went ahead and kept trimming this down. At this point, I wasn't really sure how I was feeling about it, like with those grey stripes. I quite liked it when it was the full size, because then you had more of that space. That grey wasn't kind of so much at the top and the bottom. But I'm quite happy with how the card turned out itself. So I'm going to add my torn edge mat onto the card base just using my tape runner. I'm going to add some of my foam tape onto the back of my embossed panel. So I always find if I've embossed a panel, especially if it's a little bit warped and things like that, using something like a foam tape where you can really make it nice and sturdy and something that's going to stick to it really well. You don't want any sort of areas or edges coming up where other pieces aren't. So just pop 3 pieces of foam tape onto this, and then I can add this onto my green mat and layer. So for my sentiment and my topper, I'm actually going to be using the kind of topper pack that you can download. So of course you can use the, you've got all of those stamps and sentiments actually in there, but maybe you're someone who doesn't do a lot of stamping. Maybe you do a lot of sort of digital papers and stamps and things like that. So, you can go onto the Craft World website and download these papers and things. You might catch some glimpses of these papers. So this is what I had left over from when I was creating my sample. So again, they've got plenty of the toppers. You've got the floral toppers, you've got the perfume bottles, you've got different sentiments. So I actually end up putting a few, so you've got these 2 bottles you can see here, and then we have a sentiment, and then I do cut out one of those floral images as well. So the toppers and the sentiments, they do have a black outline around them. So they do have a cut line that you can follow. This does give you a little bit of a bigger white border. I did then trim mine to be closer so it didn't have that much of a border. But you do have that guideline there, which can be really useful for you. I decided to stamp, again, just to sort of show you that you can interchange what you stamp onto the sort of labels of the bottles, and you can do that with the stamps that are included or even with these bottles here. So I did stamp on the label of this one, Love Always, and then I'm going to stamp one onto the other little pink one. This one doesn't have like that label area, but I just stamped right in the center of this, and I think this one was Missing You. So again, you can make different kinds of cards, just like hello cards to send. You can make birthday cards. Again, any sort of big occasion cards is going to work for that. So then basically, these are kind of all of my elements that I'm going to pop onto the card. And I'm going to use just a combination of glue and then some foam pads as well, because I'm basically just going to line these 4 images up kind of across the bottom of this. So I end up pretty much covering this grey strip down here. I'm not 100% sure that I love that grey strip being right at the top. Like I said before, if I had this as like a slimline card, I think because I would have had that gap sort of top and bottom extra, I think I would have been a lot happier with that. But again, overall, I am still happy with how this card turned out. So again, just adding some foam to the pieces that's going to be in the front. So you've got the little floral, and that bigger bottle is just flat on the back. And then we've got this smaller bottle, and our sentiment is propped up onto our foam pads. And I really like how this looks kind of just all being in a line. So one last thing just to finish this card, I'm going to add some embellishments. So this time I've gone with some pearls. So these are Chloe's Creative Cards like pearl embellishments. I've gone with the kind of plain pearls here, and I've just picked the 3 different sizes on there. So this is going to really help to kind of finish the card and sort of balance it quite nicely. So I'm just going to pop a blob of glue down, and then that's going to hold our pearl in place. And that is then going to finish my card for today's video. So this was using that sense of spring from the issue of Simply Cards and Papercraft. So if you did like this card, please give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so you don't miss out on any future videos. So that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching and happy crafting.